सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे। रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमो रामाय तस्मै नमः। रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। श्रीरामाय नमस्तुभ्यं कृपया तव शक्यते सुखेनाभ्यसितुं लब्धं ज्ञानं दैनिकजीवने। गुरुमहिमा गुरुमहिमा अपार महिमा गुरुमहिमा 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 अपार महिमा गुरुमहिमा किं वचनीया गुरुमहिमा किमवचनीया गुरुमहिमा किं वचनीया गुरुमहिमा किमवचनीया गुरुमहिमा 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 अपार महिमा गुरुमहिमा अणोरणीया गुरुमहिमा महतो महीयान् गुरुमहिमा अणोरणीयान् गुरुमहिमा महतो महीयान् गुरुमहिमा 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 अपार महिमा गुरुमहिमा सच्चिदानन्द गुरुमहिमा भावय हे मन गुरुमहिमा सच्चिदानन्द गुरुमहिमा भावय हे मन गुरुमहिमा 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 अपार महिमा गुरुमहिमा अज्ञाननाशक गुरुमहिमा सुज्ञानदायक गुरुमहिमा अज्ञाननाशक गुरुमहिमा सुज्ञानदायक गुरुमहिमा 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 अपार महिमा गुरुमहिमा 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 अपार महिमा गुरुमहिमा। श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Hari Om. Somebody asked Puja Guruji, is Vedanta relevant to our life? Puja Guruji replied to that person and said, Vedanta talks about yourself. Now you ask yourself this question, is your life relevant to you? If yes, then Vedanta will be the most relevant thing for you. So Advaita Vedanta talks about ourselves. It introduces us to that blissful aspect of our personality, which we fail to recognize in the midst of our day-to-day activities. We get so busy sometimes that we fail to recognize that blissful aspect of our personality, which is always available to us and ever experienced. This is where the text started by talking about the nature of Atman, which was pointed out as Pratyakshanubhavam, which is always experienced, always available, and it is Shuddham, pure in nature. So when I gain this knowledge of Vedanta, I get clarity about this aspect of my personality. And as we saw in the last class, knowledge won't destroy anything. It won't destroy body, it won't destroy mind, it won't destroy intellect. It will only point out that I have erroneously recognized with these things. And they have a different degree of reality than Atman. The example that we saw was mirage water, no matter how big it looks, cannot wet the desert sand. I'm repeating these things because sometimes abhyasa helps, to get what is the main essence of Vedanta. That's what Guruji said here. Nahankaro manobuddhihi deho naham kadachana. I am not body, not mind, not intellect, not ahankara. This chintanam should go on again and again. Iti Vedanta vakyasya bhavaha punah punah chintya. Again and again, dwell on this with clarity, not repetition. And something interesting to note here is whenever we might have started studying Vedanta, how many years, no matter how many years back or for how many um, months, whatever the duration is, slowly we start realizing the technical terms start remaining the same. I mean, they won't change much. If you have studied about Panchakosha, even after 15 years, Panchakosha will remain Panchakosha only. Right? There will be 5 koshas, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and so on. 3 bodies that we have studied, that will also remain the same. But what will change is the owning up of this fact that I am not the 3 bodies. I am not Panchakosha. That will be the progress of a sadhaka. And all these technical terms that we are studying in whatever text we might have studied, the purpose of that is to help us guide in this direction. So this was the essence of that verse. I am not ahankara, mind, etc. Now somebody says, even after hearing this, I'm still unable to benefit fully from this knowledge. I still feel that Brahman is somewhere, means happiness is somewhere, and I'm a miserable little tiny, creature. And at the most, there is some small tiny bit of Atman, consciousness glowing. Sometimes it glows, sometimes I'm peaceful, and sometimes I'm not. So for that sadhaka, this aspect of struggle that he's going through is called pratibandha. Means some kind of obstruction is there because of which that sadhaka is unable to gain the full benefit, maximum benefit of this knowledge. So it is said we need to make some adjustments in life so that these pratibandhas will go away. And I can live Vedanta and be happy, claim my nature as happiness. And study of Vedanta, is not to get stressed about too many terms, too many words also. Initially, it might seem like that, but all sattvic sukham is like this only. Initially, it is very painful, but the end result of it is very joyful. So this text in particular gives us many sadhanas. Like we saw at body level, sadhana that was pointed out was that we should use our body for serving others, making ourselves insignificant when it comes to the community around us, putting others first before us, and then using this body to gain knowledge and also to worship Bhagwan, cultivate devotion for Bhagwan. That was with regards to body. Then it was pointed out that with regards to mind, how to make this mind more obedient, not to have Vishaya Sakti, how to purify the mind. And one thing to note here is Atman, I, that is ever pure. We don't need to purify Atman, but we need to purify the mind to recognize this fact. It's like, seeing this harmonium, and let us say there is dust on my glasses. So if I want to see it clearly, I need to clean the dust on this glass. I don't have to start cleaning the harmonium because there's nothing wrong with it, right? So in the same way, the instrument available to us to see or recognize Atman is our mind. And in that pure mind, this knowledge becomes crystal clear. That is why the sadhana was pointed out, that reduce Vishaya Chintanam, reduce thinking about objects which take our mind away, make the mind more agitated. So we know what those objects are, and each one will have different objects that agitate the mind. So for a sadhaka, it is said, keep them away because you have found a higher source of happiness now. If you want to go within, outer sources of happiness will have to be given a lower priority. Okay, this we saw with regards to our second uh, thing, which was the mind. And then intellect. That's what we saw in the last lecture. Where it was said, intellect should be my charioteer. It should have the reins of the mind in hand and should be able to control the horses. And these horses should go where I want it to go. Those of you who are listening to Kathopanishad, Puja Guruji elaborated it more in Kathopanishad in the morning sessions that is going on. So this was the metaphor. That is where this is taken from in this particular text. Main point is this, that our goal is that our life should not become a confused life in whichever aspect it may be, either at work, either in our own, goals that we want to achieve in life, or for a sadhaka also, those who want to walk this path seriously, sincerely. There should not be too many confusions about what to do in life. That is why it was said, karya, akarya, what to do and what not to do. This will be the role of intellect. And then last thing that we saw was how to make the intellect stronger. Bhagwan said, make a resolve, make it very strong. And then you see how Bhagwan's grace will function. So first is your, first step is from Jiva's side. He has to make a resolve, walk one step ahead. And then Bhagwan says, now I am with you. If your resolve is right resolve, samyak vyavasito hi saha. All of these put together, where it goes down to is that we start realizing that we can go through life with less ups and downs. If you make these adjustments, right, at body, mind, and intellect level, it's like having a good shock absorber in our car. No matter how the road is, you still can sail through smoothly. And actually speaking, situations themselves are not a problem. If we are inequipped to face that situation, that's when it becomes a problem. Those of you who teach, somewhere, wherever you teach, either Bal Vihar or in some, as a profession, wherever, or if you have to give some presentation, let us say, and if you are unprepared for it, or if you are unclear about the subject matter that you are going to present upon, you see that same situation becomes so stressful. You wonder how you will go there, what you will do, and you feel a lot of anxiety inside. But let us say you know the subject thoroughly, you have prepared thoroughly, then you see how much enthusiasm is there to go and present. You sometimes go 10 minutes over, you go to the presentation early to get well set, well prepared for that presentation. So the point is, situation by itself will never bother us. So sadhana is that power. Sadhana is that inner tuning of our personality by which we can face any situation in our life with strength. Such a person will be able to live Vedanta. So first, Vedanta is making sure that we get what we want in our personality also, and then it will show us more subtle things. Before we go further, there is one more point we can discuss. Sometimes this topic is of intellect, that's why I'm raising this point. Sometimes people think, if I'm an intellectual person, I'm a rational person, do I still need to have faith, Shraddha? That's how sometimes we have this division in our mind, right? Intellectual person means he need not have Shraddha. And person who has Shraddha means, oh, he doesn't know how to think. Okay, these are the two divisions as though we create. Let us spend a little time looking at this. Actually speaking, we can think only on that thing where we have faith. Means our intellect can actually think only about that thing where it has faith. Let us say I go to study engineering. I start with the fact that this university will give me an engineering degree. The professor who is teaching knows what he is teaching. I might not understand it. I can use my intellect, right? Those of you who do PhDs, we try to explore that one aspect for PhD thesis, having that faith that there is something out there. So wherever there is Shraddha, there only there can be, gati means pravrutti of intellect. Pravrutti means the ability of intellect to function in that particular field. So this Shraddha is, it is a kruti hetu, means it will prompt a person to do something in that area. Only when I have faith, I will have this desire to pursue that particular path. So when it comes to Vedanta, although it is said, we should use our intellect, it is always supported with faith. Okay, so faith is at the top, and following that faith is the intellect. Why I'm discussing this is, if we have faith, and then when we study, we get some question, that question will turn into a quest. Okay, if I have faith in Vedanta, and let us say some concept I don't understand. If I have faith, saying that Vedanta knows what it's saying, our Guru Parampara knows what they are teaching, then that question will become a quest. If I don't have faith, or if my faith is lacking, there is nobody who doesn't have any faith. There is some kind of, at least some kind of faith. Then that question will create agitation. Like it will keep my head spinning and I will start, going here and there. So this is the power of faith, power of Shraddha. It will guide the intellect, find the right answers. Okay. So that point is something we should also dwell on, that when we talk about intellect, when we talk about pramana and everything, it doesn't mean that this person has become totally dry. He doesn't have faith in anything. He uses only his intellect. No, that's not what we are discussing here. It is someone who has faith in Bhagwan, he has faith in Guru Parampara, faith in Shastra. Such a person is now trying to walk on this path and own up this knowledge. Okay. All right. So now we saw that the best use of intellect is to find the right means of knowledge. Okay. I won't go back into recap now because others will just keep recapping over and over again and not move too much further. So now the question is, when it comes to my day-to-day life, how should I use my intellect? Okay, which pramana, which means of knowledge I should use through my intellect, decided by my intellect, such that I can conduct my day-to-day life with ease. So we will chant the 12th verse. Vyavahare chikitsadi, vyavahare chikitsadi, shastrani vividhani syuhu, shastrani vividhani syuhu, upayogam narastesham, उपयोगं नरस्तेषां यथा कुर्यात् परिस्थितिः, यथा कुर्यात् परिस्थितिः, व्यवहारे चिकित्सादि शास्त्राणि विविधानि स्युः, उपयोगं नरस्तेषां यथा कुर्यात् परिस्थितिः. व्यवहारे चिकित्सादि विविधानि शास्त्राणि स्युः. Means when it comes to transacting in the world, there are different kinds of shastras. Shastra means specialized fields of knowledge, like medicine. You have a Bhautika Shastra, like physics, Rasayana Shastra, like chemistry, and so on. Means when it comes to that particular field, there will be different areas or different branches of science which specialize in that field. Yatha paristitihi tatha narah tesham upayogam kuryat. Means as the situation demands, people, or we should make use of the appropriate science, appropriate upaya, solution that is out there. When it comes to this word vyavahare, right? The first word is vyavahare chikitsadi. Vyavahare means whatever is directly perceived by our senses. So that is called vyavahara. I'm clarifying this because next verse will talk about that which is beyond senses. Okay, so we should know what is the difference. Remember that two planes that we spoke, right? This is my favorite example. It looks like a dance pose, not this bad, but this top one is vyavahara. Okay, vyavahara is what is perceived by our senses, and the bottom one is paramarthika. Okay, this is a broad classification. There are nuances to it. Like dharma, for example, it is not seen by senses, but it still falls in vyavahara. Okay, so don't get confused. The bottom plane is absolute plane, Atman, the self, and the top one is Vyavaharika plane. So here it says that in whichever field, whichever science has expertise, we should go in that field and gain the knowledge. Make use of that particular science. And this we all know. It's not something new that we are saying, but sometimes we mix up also. Our Guruji says, when you have a legal problem, you don't go to a musician, right? You go to a lawyer. But he says, in the same way, when you have a backache, go see a doctor. Don't go to some Babaji. Okay, so because sometimes this, different superstitions you call, so many things go on in the name of this mix up. So, what is specialization where, that we should understand clearly. And somewhere I had read that, we should go to Mahatma. Some people go to Mahatmas to ask about their future, what will happen in my life ahead. And this saying was that, don't go to Mahatmas to know your future. Don't go to Mahatmas to know your future. Go to Mahatmas to make your future. It was a very nice statement I heard that, what is the purpose of going to a Mahatma? To bask in the knowledge that they have, to ask them questions about how I should move further in life. Okay, this is all role of intellect, which should know that when it comes to vyavahara transactions, how I should use my intellect. Our Upanishads go a step further. They accept the fact that everything will not be black and white. In life, there could be situations where we don't know which way to go. Both options will look very similar. So there they say, go and seek help from a wise person. Taittiriya Upanishad, it is said that whenever in doubt, go and seek help from a wise person and let him be someone who is your well-wisher. So we all should have such a person in life who doesn't seek anything from us, but he just wants us to be happy. He wants us to make the right decision. So seek advice from such a person. Okay, so it says Vyavahare Chikitsadi Shastrani Vividhani Syuhu. According to Paristhiti, we should make use of that particular science. When since the topic of science has come, we will discuss one more thing here. We saw 3 pramanas in the last class before concluding. One pramana was called Pratyaksha pramana, where you use your senses to gain knowledge. Second was called Anumana, inference. And third was called verbal testimony, Shabda pramana. Science operates mostly in these 2 aspects. Okay, seeing and then drawing inferences. I'll give an example. In Bay Area, we have BART system, right? It connects different areas. The BART connects different areas. Now the transportation department, whatever you call it, the BART head office, if they have to determine at what frequency should these BARTs run. Should it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes? In the evening, how much it should be? In the afternoon, how much it should be? Morning, how much it should be? Rush hours. They don't just make up a number. They just don't say, let's, run it for after every 4 minutes. There is a systematic way in which they first gather information. Okay, so observation, pratyaksha. They will conduct surveys and ask for travel choices of how people choose to travel, at what time of the day they choose to travel, whether by BART or train or some other mode of transport. And they have appropriate sampling across all the passengers. And after that, they gather data. When they collect surveys, Vyapti it is called. They gather data and then analyze that data. Okay, this is very common. All of you must be wondering, why am I explaining this? So they analyze the data, run models and whatever that is done on top of that. So first observation, gathering data and analyzing that data. And from that, they come with a, suggested number based on all the analysis that they do. This is a scientific approach to find answers. Now, when it comes to Brahman or God, question is, can we apply the same method? If we say, I want to observe Brahman, I want to observe God, I want to see God. So it won't be seen as a object of senses. Brahman will never become object of perception. Why? Because it is drashta, it is seer, right? So if there is no observation, we cannot bring analysis. What will you analyze? You don't have any data. And if you don't have data, you cannot draw your inference. So this verse is talking about that. Means when it comes to vyavahara, we should use our appropriate science. But when it comes to knowing nature of Brahman, nature of God, it won't suffice. So then somebody says, so then it cannot be known. Like we will never know God, we will never know Brahman then. So it says, no, 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 there is a way to be known. And that is in the 13th verse. We'll chant the next verse. Shrutismrutiश्च धर्मादौ श्रुतिस्मृतिश्च धर्मादौ वेदान्तो ब्रह्मदर्शने वेदान्तो ब्रह्मदर्शने प्रमाणं विद्यते साक्षात् प्रमाणं विद्यते साक्षात् किमन्येन प्रयोजनम् किमन्येन प्रयोजनम् श्रुतिस्मृतिश्च धर्मादौ वेदान्तो ब्रह्मदर्शने प्रमाणं विद्यते साक्षात् किमन्येन प्रयोजनम्. When it comes to dharma, okay, श्रुतिस्मृतिश्च dharmadau pramanam vidyate. When it comes to dharma, the valid means of determining ethical, ethics, dharma is shruti and smriti. Shruti here means karma kanda portion. Okay. And smriti means Bhagavad Gita, our, ancient smritis like Manusmriti, Parashara Smriti, all those smritis which are there. And, you can also say our Puranas, like Itihasa, Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam. All of that becomes valid means to know what is dharma. Brahma darshane Vedantah sakshat pramanam vidyate. To know the nature of Brahman, Vedanta is sakshat. You look at the translation, word to word translation there. Guruji has translated it as authoritative. In Vyavahara, authority was science. When it comes to Paramartha, Brahman, authority is Vedanta. And the last quarter says, Kim anyena prayojanam. What is the need to go on looking for other means? Means, something is right here where I can, somebody is hungry and wants to eat, to satiate his hunger. That food is right here. Why go searching so many places and then stay hungry? This is that, Kim anyena prayojanam. There is a bhajan that Guruji composed which says, how does a guru reveal knowledge? One of the line in that bhajan is, Pada Vakya Pramana se Jnana Sikhaya. Means my teacher taught me this knowledge through Pada, means, the words, Vakya, Mahavakya, the sentence, and through Pramana. That is this pramana. Okay, when it comes to Vedanta, look at the importance of pramana. So there is one short sutra in Sanskrit which says Atindriya Vishaye Vedaha Pramanam. Atindriya means that which is beyond senses. Simple translation. Which is beyond senses. For those things, the valid means of knowledge is Vedas. For example, the first one that we take is Dharma. What is righteous and what is not righteous? What is the right thing to do? What is not the right thing to do? Our eyes cannot tell us that, or any sense organ for that matter. Where to park, even if you look at our transactional life, where to park my car. So each country will have its own law. That is not visible to me. It's not directly perceivable. Wherever there is space, I cannot park my car. I want to build a house. I don't. Let us say I want to build a house. There is a vast open land here. I say there is a land. Let us build a house. No, we cannot. So what is right and what is not right, that is always decided by something which is not perceived by our senses. I mean, there is a constitution, there is a rule book, there is a law which will tell me that. In the same way, when it comes to dharma, which action will give me punya, which action will give me papa, that I cannot decide for myself. That okay, I will do this action and I will get punya. We cannot decide for ourselves. The pramana, the right means of knowledge is shruti and smruti. So we saw what those two words mean. Shruti means karma kanda portion of Vedas, where rituals and all are mentioned. And smruti is Bhagavad Gita, Puranas, etc. These are nice two names. If somebody has two daughters, one is Shruti, another is Smruti. And there will never be questions of dharma in that house. Both are well set. Pramana is there. So this will tell me what is dharma. Both of these things, Shruti and Smruti. What happens to a jiva after it drops the body? Whether there is reincarnation or not, how reincarnation happens. All of that we cannot guess. So for that, valid means of knowledge is Shruti and Smruti. When it comes to higher worlds, right, we are only familiar with Bhuloka. So our Upanishads say there is Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Maha. All those worlds are there. Now I cannot see them right now. But we have a lot of other ways to know that these worlds exist. That is pramanam. And other ways are through different Puranas that we have heard of, Indra stories we see, and in Dharma Shastra, a lot of other aspects of Devatas are also mentioned. Smriti Shastra in particular, like Mahabharata, Ramayana, they give lot of guidance on dharma also. Like Yudhishthira, after the war, feels very agitated. He feels very guilty that he has not done something right, or he has not done the right thing. Bhagwan Shri Krishna says, I won't give you advice now. Let's go to Bhishma Pitama. So Bhishma Pitama teaches Yudhishthira about dharma. That was a more detailed teaching, but we can take simple teaching of Bhagwan Ramchandra ji. How he lived his life, how he conducted himself, how he lived dharma, that is our pramana. Something wonderful is there with respect to Dharma Shastra. What it does is it will turn our attention away from body. Means when I start getting faith in Dharma Shastra, when I start thinking that this all pointers which are given there are telling me that I'm not just this physical body, but I am consciousness conditioned by this physical body, Jiva. So then my efforts will go towards nurturing this Jiva account. I will realize that whatever I've done for physical body will be left here, right? Once this body drops, everything stays here with this physical body. But whatever I've invested as a Jiva, that continues. My samskara, my sadhana that I've done, all of that will continue along with this Jiva. This is the advantage you call or blessing of doing this vichara, getting this conviction in Dharma Shastra, Bhagavad Gita, Purana, and everything. But when it comes to Brahma, the second quarter says Pramana is Vedanta. We don't need to go too much around here and there looking for other things. So it is said, you take Vedanta as Pramana and move ahead on this path. Somebody says, why cannot I use my intellect to know Brahma, to know God? Well, we saw earlier, intellect can only think about those things which become objects of knowledge. Brahman can never become object of knowledge. So we cannot use intellect to know Brahman. But we can get a lot of good lessons from this world. A lot of you must have heard about Avadhuta, the 24 gurus of Avadhuta. We teach it in our Balvihar also. You see, Avadhuta, he could learn so many things from this creation using his intellect. So many things to, evolve as a person, to guide us on this path. But that intellect could not tell Atman is Brahman. Right? For that, intellect will stop at that point. So that is where we need Vedanta to work as a pramana. And different questions come. It might not come in the beginning, but as we start studying systematically, as our quest to know ourselves grows deeper, we will get a lot of questions. What is the nature of Atman? How is it infinite? Is there only one Atman? Are there different Atmans in different people? Or is there only one Atman? Does it get affected by anything? All these questions will be answered by Vedanta. I had a friend when I was studying. He was doing his, I think, PhD from physics, in the physics department. Very good friend of mine. He used to come to most of our satsangs, help organize also. But his thinking was that if you cannot conduct an experiment over and over again and come up with same results, then you cannot say anything conclusive about that thing. So he wants to say that we should be able to experiment with Brahman again and again, come up with same result, and then I can say that this is scientifically proven Brahman exists. When Guruji was teaching us this text, he brought up this point and he said that, if somebody has this thinking, the question should be that you try to experiment with history. Like same way the way you conduct a scientific experiment. He said, why don't you also experiment with history? You see a beautiful painting. Now you try to conduct that experiment with a painting. You say replication, right? You say you try to replicate a famous personality again in this world, like Martin Luther King. You say we'll replicate him. We can't. But that doesn't mean we cannot study about them. That doesn't mean that particular conclusion which is arrived at is unscientific or not valid. The point is there are different ways of knowing different things. So scientific way is one, Vedanta Pramana way is another. And it is not to say that the scientific way is completely not helpful for us. Science will help us a lot. First, of course, in the first previous shloka we saw in dealing with vyavahara, transactional things. It will also help us get a lot of good examples, which will come very close to consciousness you call Brahman. Like, example that we take often is of electricity. So there are a lot of aspects which match between consciousness and electricity. Electricity expresses in different forms, but it itself is not seen. Consciousness expresses in different forms, but it itself is not seen. So like that, you will have a lot of similarities, and it will take our mind in that direction, that we can go or understand the concept in a language that we understand, right? So it is good. We should use all these examples, right? And Puja Gurudev himself pointed out so many modern day examples, whether you call the screen and the projection, or you call the space example, or you call the electricity example, all of it will be helpful. But we should not misunderstand one for the other, right? Because purpose of an example is to come close as much as possible, not to become that thing. If it becomes that thing, then this first thing will not be an example. So the point is that when it comes to Brahma Darshanam, Vedanta is Pramana. Means we should not try to see Bhagwan through a microscope. Because he says, I am Drashta, I am the seer. How will you see me? Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi. Means I am the one who is seeing. Where are you trying to see? Outside, look inside. That different saints have expressed this in different ways. They say, Moko kaha dhoonde re bande, main to tere paas mein. That where are you searching me outside, here and there and so many things. Recognize me in your own heart. Be free, be happy right away. Okay. So that was this aspect of Pramana. Somebody says, why do all this Pramana Vichara? So many hair splitting, it looks like, as though we haven't even scratched the surface of Pramana Vichara, by the way. Huh? When Swamiji taught us this, I think he taught us for around 20 lectures in Sandipani. I didn't try to present 20 lectures in one lecture. But I just wanted to give a flavor of Pramana. That how much clarity it gives in terms of using Vedanta to know Brahman, using all other sciences to live a happy life. Happy life meaning at body level, mind level, etc. So when we do this Praman Vichara, clarity in knowledge will dawn. Because I will realize, where we started, Praman Vichara was that when we use the right means of knowledge, we get clarity of knowledge, right? To know, let us say a red rose, if I know that eyes are the right means of knowledge, I won't spend long time trying to use my ear and figure out the color of a rose. So in the same way, when I know that my nature is Brahma, through pramana, that knowledge will become very firm. And our meditation will become very effective. It will become deep. And nobody will be able to shake us from this knowledge. It's like saying, once you weigh a thing, right? Let us say in India, you must have seen, you go to the grocery store and you say, give me 1 kilogram of sugar. So that shopkeeper weighs 1 kilogram. Now, once you have weighed that 1 kilogram, how many times do you have to weigh it again? Only once, right? So if you have a golden necklace, once you have made sure that it is gold, you don't have to check it every time before wearing it, whether it's gold or not, because we have used the right pramana. In the same way, if we want to know about our nature, right, our infinitude, if we have used the right pramana, our journey will be like a, smooth sail. All other things will fall in place. And this is what Bhagwan says in Gita, where he says, Esha Brahmi Stiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati. He says, once having gained this knowledge, you will not get deluded again. When can someone say such a statement? It's a promise only Vedanta can give us. That once having gained this knowledge, you will not get deluded again. Means once pramana has worked, no other pramana will come and negate this or try to interfere in this aspect. Okay. So dwelling on this more, we will have lot of benefits. I didn't go too much into the technicalities of it. Praman Vichara is a very technical but a sweet topic. Okay, it is something that we unknowingly use it in our day-to-day life. The Vedanta Darshana, what it does is it puts systematically in a particular sequence, and it categorizes things in different pramanas, and then we can understand it very clearly. But given this text and the scope, I tried not to do that, but we just looked at an overall view. So now comes an interesting topic of ahankara. So now Guruji has spoken about 3 out of the 4 things, which we said I am not, right? We said I am not the body was spoken about. I am not the mind was spoken about. I am not intellect, what we just saw. Okay, body, mind, intellect, I am not, but how to make the best use of them. Last one remains is ahankara. I am not ahankara, but how do I make best use of this ahankara? We will just chant the shloka. More of it we will see in the next session. Shloka number 14. Ahankarassa vidneyah. Ahankarassa vidneyah. तादात्म्येन हि जायते तादात्म्येन हि जायते देहादिभिर्गुणैः साकं देहादिभिर्गुणैः साकं यो विभाति तथा तथा यो विभाति तथा तथा अहंकारस्य विज्ञेयः तादात्म्येन हि जायते देहादिभिर्गुणैः साकं यो विभाति तथा तथा. We will see more of it in the next session. We will just do some Nama Sankirtanam now. राधे गोविंद गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला राधे गोविंद गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला राधे गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला राधे गोविंद गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला राधे गोविंद गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला कृष्णा मधुसूदना मधुसूदना कृष्णा कृष्णा मधुसूदना मधुसूदना कृष्णा गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला राधे गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला राधे गोविंद गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला रामा गुणवर्धना गुणवर्धना रामा रामा गुणवर्धना गुणवर्धना रामा गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला राधे गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला राधे गोविंद गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला राधे गोविंद गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला बोलिए राधा और कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।